Ooh, what's this? Suppressive. Someone with very low self-esteem. Whenever this person sees something good, they want to suppress it and destroy it. These people never have anything nice to say about anyone. In ESP, we learned that everyone has suppressive tendencies. We all have narcissistic traits, but a full suppressive is someone who, really has bad intent and wants to hurt people. That was described in the module, The Fall.
There's an interesting book written, a poem actually, Paradise Lost by Milton, written a while ago. It's about the fall of Lucifer from the Garden of Eden. At one point, he's personifying Lucifer, and Lucifer looks up and sees heaven, and then sees heaven's creation, which is man. And you know what Lucifer's first reaction to man is? He is amazed by man. He admires, even loves man. One could interpret that. But then you know what his reaction is? That creature reminds me of what I lost. The perfection of that creature brings such hate, such memories, such awful things in me. I must destroy that. I don't want to see heaven embodied anywhere. So he seeks to destroy.
So the fall was described as this discovery that a person can make. That if their self-esteem gets super, super low, they actually have a ton of options if they destroy their conscience. And by hurting people or by doing destructive things, they actually can feel good.
This is what Vanguard terms a Luciferian. It's the worst possible thing that could ever occur because Luciferians look like you and they seem to act like you, but they're nothing like you.
It's like an aching. They wake up in the morning and they feel vengeful. They feel bad, and the only thing that can relieve that gut, that pain, is to go out and destroy and to exercise power.
There was something that we learned. When you went to the cult, it wasn't a cult. It was a business school. There was a 16-day seminar, and most people start with a 5-day. And in the 5-day intensive, on day 3, at the end of day 3, there was a module. The module was like this, and it was 2 hours long. So the fall was at the end of the 3rd day. This was something that he created. He talked about a person that had, positive self-esteem, high self-esteem, and somebody that got down to zero self-esteem. Miserable fucker. And then he talked about somebody who's just suffering like a dog. Everything's everybody else's fault. I can't get anything I want, yada, 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 yada. And then he said, but that's not the worst. There's something called negative self-esteem. And we're like, what's negative self-esteem? That's interesting. And he said, well, that's a discovery. Now I'm going to read you his exact words of what the discovery is. What happens with someone with very low self-esteem moving down to zero self-esteem is there's a total disconnection between anything that would make them feel good and the world. Even satiation doesn't work anymore. Even like eating the good stuff, sex, whatever it is, doesn't work. So now, every time they see something good, every time they see someone in a good relationship or a good job, someone getting a promotion, earning a degree, or having a child, anything that brings others joy, it makes them feel bad. They suffer, and the suffering causes pain, so they're in pain all the time. And it's the type of pain one feels in the gut when one experiences a deep emotional upset or discontent. How do they remove the pain? His words. This is when the discovery happens. This is probably the worst of all human discoveries. When we talk about discoveries, we discover effort strategies and parasite strategies. We discover all sorts of strategies, entitlement, self-esteem, sequitur, and we also find suppressive strategies. But this discovery is probably the worst of all human discoveries. It's humanity's fall from grace. It's sort of like the ice cream headache. You're eating the good thing, and the good thing causes you pain. So the only way to make the pain go away is to stop the good thing, to make it go away. It was interesting, the way he also described the discovery was, you realize you have options. See, when you're moral, your options are very limited. When you get down to zero self-esteem, maybe they're still limited. But then you realize, I can fucking do anything. Anything. Especially if what you have running biologically in your body is that all the goodness makes me feel bad. Right? And then he says, you do something destructive because you see somebody else's joy or someone else's happiness. And doing something destructive makes you feel better. Because in that moment, the pain finally stops. What do you do with that? When everything you see that's good in the world causes you pain and you discover there's a way to make the pain go away, what do? You do it again. You do it again. You do it again. And the more you do it, the better you feel. Now you have power and control over your destiny, a type of self-esteem, but it's through destruction. When we heard this shit, we were like, this is horrible. This is terrible. He goes, I know. This is what we're fighting against in the world. This is why we need this education. That's why we need to have the rigor that we have in this education. We're fighting this. Never occurred to me. That was autobiography.
Keith did seem to have like a fascination with psychopaths and people who were really evil or had no conscience.
If those people of what we call anti-conscience to Luciferic people didn't exist, we'd have to invent them. They're very important for us. It's a real partnership.
And such a person could even argue that genetically they are superior. They're not burdened by a conscience. They're not burdened by a system of honor. They're Machiavellian. The sociopath, who doesn't have the circuitry in the brain, looks at everything like a video game. And because they look at things like that, they have more degrees of freedom than an empathy-feeling person. The truth of the matter is, sociopaths have made us what we were. If it weren't for sociopaths, we wouldn't understand compassion.
Like night and day?
Yeah.
I thought that that was just because he wanted to help people not become that way and know what they were looking at so they could avoid being hurt by people like that. But I think ultimately what he was doing was just putting everything in plain sight.